Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Elliott from Derek.com, and I heard you wanted to fold up a box. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to make this folding box animation complete with a procedural cardboard texture and some sick Dirk graphics, but of course you can put whatever graphics on it you want, even a Squarespace logo, the sponsor of today's video. We're also adding a super dope transparent label to slap that puppy all together so your things don't get lost when they're moving through the metaverse. We're also going to do a little bit of lighting, of course, because without light, you ain't seeing nothing. Let's get started. All right, so I am in a pretty basic default Blender 3.1 scene, and I am going to delete my camera and my lamp here, and I will hold on to the cube because we are going to make a cube-shaped box. So in face select mode, I'm going to delete this top face. X is going to be your hotkey there. And then what I want to do is add in an edge loop with Control R and just bring that up to maybe about right there. And then I'm going to delete two of the sides here. So let's press X to delete these two faces. And the reason I'm doing that is that when I fold this all up, I want two of the flaps to be kind of on top of the other two. So I want them to be from different pivot points. So these will be the lower sort of inner flaps. So let's go ahead and bring these up with E and Z, and then let's press SY to scale those in just a tad, and then EZ, bring them up some more, and then SY, just so that there's a little bit of an angle. If you've ever looked at a box before, sometimes the inner flaps have a little bit of a taper like that to them. But yeah, let's go ahead and now add in, okay, so those flaps are going to fold from this edge, and then these ones will fold from the edge above. So let's press E and Z, and I'm going to go up about 1 meter because that's half the size of the default cube. So those should meet pretty close to the middle. We can make some adjustments to that later if we want. And then just for good measure, I'm going to press Control R and add in an edge loop right here. I'm not exactly sure why I did that, but I think sometimes when you're working with armatures, it's good to have a little bit of extra geometry around where you're doing folds and things like that. But I'm definitely an armature amateur, so yeah, play around on your own. But that's going to be pretty much my default geometry there. What I will do is add in this cavity display option just so I can see those corners a little bit better. And maybe we go ahead and also add in a solidify modifier just so that we can kind of see the shape a little bit better. But what I want to do next is go ahead and add in an armature. So Shift A, armature, and that's going to add in a single bone right there. But in edit mode by pressing tab, and then in my front view, I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to my wireframe view here. Move this up to right about there. And that is where I'll have this larger flap fold from. So GY, another advantage of working with the default cube is everything is kind of aligned to the grid. So my larger flap is going to fold from about right there. Maybe bring that up just a tad. And then I'm going to press Shift D and Y, holding Control, snap that over 2 units so that we got the same on the other side. And then with both those selected, I'm going to press Shift D, RZ, holding Control, snap to 90 degrees. And then that's going to be for our lower flaps, which will fold from right about there. So yes, move both those down. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much our armature. So now let's go back into our solid view here. And then what I want to do is select my box object first and then shift click so that this now has a lighter orange outline, the armature, and then press Control P and parent that with empty groups. So now if we select our box object, we'll see in the vertex group, we've got all these bones here. But just to make things a little bit easier to understand, I'm going to name them. So let's go into our front view. I might have been spinning around at weird angles. So that's going to be our front view. So I'm going to select the armature here, tab into edit mode, and then I'm going to just name these. So F2, name this F for front, and then name this one R for right, and then F2, name this one B for back. And then F2, this one will be left, so we'll name it P. Just kidding. We're going to name it L. Wow, really good jokes here today on the Dirk YouTube channel. But now, every time I tell a really bad joke, I lose track of what I was doing. So yeah, now back in this object, we can see we've got FBLR, which stands for front, back, left, right. No jokes there. So normally with an armature, you could press Shift Tab or Control Tab, and you would go in pose mode and you could rotate things around. That would be if you used automatic weights, which is something you would do with a character or something. But the reason I use the empty groups is because I want to have a lot of control over which vertices are assigned to different parts of the armature. So back into object mode there, I want to now assign different parts of this mesh to these vertex groups which are tied to the armature. So tabbing into edit mode, let's check where we are again. 1. Okay, so this is the front one. So I want this face to be assigned to the front. So assign, and then I want this face to be assigned to the back. So select the B group and then hit assign. And then this one, I want this and this to be assigned to the right side, assign. And then over here, this one and this one assigned to the left side, assign. So yeah, having those names just helps a little bit. So now if we select this armature and go Shift Tab, Control Tab into pose mode, you can also do the drop down up here. We should see that this is working correctly, and it appears that it is. Very, very nice. Okay, so the folding action is happening, and now we can kind of go ahead and start doing some animation. So let me just bring this up a little bit. So the box obviously now is opened, and we want it to maybe start open. So let's, I'm pressing N to bring up this bar here. We want to insert keyframes for all these bones. So I'm going to press A to select all of them, and then down here in my keying set, I can change the active keying set to be rotation. So now with all those selected, if I press I, it'll insert rotation keyframes for each of them. Now what I want to do is sort of fold the box up. So I'm going to move forward about 30 frames there. And then I want to basically fold these down and insert keyframes, but so that the keyframes are automatically inserted when I do the rotation, I'm going to use this little record kind of icon down here, auto keying. And then I'm going to hit only active keying set, which will only add them for the rotation. If you don't click that, it'll insert them also for scale and location. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my rotation gizmo and just kind of fold this box up. So let's start with these ones. I'm looking at the top left. I'm going to go a little bit past 90 degrees for these inner ones. So folding this down, you can see the keyframes are automatically getting inserted. And then these ones, I'm going to hold Control and snap them exactly to 90 degrees. And it looks like we're in good shape. Now, I think we might have had a little bit of overlap there. Those two bigger flaps, yeah, a little bit too much. So let's Shift Control Tab. I obviously don't know that hotkey. Control Tab into object mode, and then these two flaps needed to come down just a little bit. GZ, and then let's tab out. See if those are coming together. Okay, nice. Nice to have a little bit of a gap there. I just think that looks nice. You can see the detail. But yeah, that's looking good. Obvious issue is that these are all folding in at the same time. So we need to sort of offset the animation of some of those bones so that that does not happen. So let's select our armature, and then let's see if I can get this done. Control Tab into pose mode. So yeah, all the keyframes right now are from 0 to 30, but I want these two to happen a little bit later. So let's select those two bones, and then make sure that these are yellow. So if they're deselected, they're going to be gray. But if I press A to select them all, they'll both be highlighted yellow. And I can just bring this over a little bit and just have those start on maybe frame 15 or so. We just want to avoid any intersection. So maybe we could have it start even a little sooner. Okay, so right there we would be getting a little bit of intersection. It looks like right there we're all clear. So that is looking pretty good. Now for one, I think I'll go over here into my render settings and make this 30 frames per second. And let's just bring this way back so while we're doing our preview, we can kind of watch it. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. So let's say you're a box designer, or more likely you sell things that come in boxes and you wanted to show all those things to the world. Well, you could do it with Squarespace. Now you've probably heard of Squarespace, but did you know how easy it was to set up a portfolio site or even an online shop? Pick from a whole bunch of beautiful templates and be up and running in no time. Head over to squarespace.com/Dirk and get started with 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Those kind of fold down. Maybe just add a little interest. Maybe this one happens a little bit faster. Let's bring that in. And then maybe we do like the same thing with one of these where it happens a little bit faster, just so that these all kind of have a nice, interesting offset. Oh, and we've got a little bit of a issue there. So maybe this one happens faster, but also starts later. Cool. Now we might play with the curves of these a little bit later so that, you know, that animation is just a tad more interesting. But as you can see, we've got a pretty simple box folding animation already ready right there. So let's go back into object mode, and I want to add in let's add in maybe, can we make this a little bit thicker? And then I'm also going to add in a bevel modifier, just so that those edges aren't quite so sharp. Now with the bevel modifier, by default, it's set to the angle limit method, which since these angles are changing, that bevel is going to kind of get deleted and added. So to avoid that, I'm just going to turn that off so that just everything gets the bevel. And there's a little bit of deformation happening there. You can control if you really wanted to change it, but fixing little issues like that, I'm not an expert at. Again, I'm an armature amateur. So yeah, this looks pretty good to me. Now, the next thing I want to do is add in a little bit of like a label, sort of slapping down on this thing. So the way I'll do that is by pressing Shift A and adding in a plane. And then let's bring this up a little bit. So there's just kind of sitting right on top of everything right around there. And then I want to turn off my auto keying too, so we don't get those keyframes inserted. Don't forget to turn off auto keying, otherwise you'll insert keyframes on like everything. Let's scale this down. This is just going to be probably like a pretty simple, just like a kind of a square label. You can make tape like wrap the edge here, but it's very difficult. I have done it before, but it took me hours to figure out, and we're just going to go for something a little bit more basic today. Keep it short and sweet. But yeah, so I want this to kind of get, what's the opposite of peel? Like reverse slap. I want it to be placed, rolled onto this seam here. So I'm going to have it roll sort of this direction. So I'm going to add in some edge loops, Control R, and just add in a bunch, something like that. I think it's going to be pretty good, just so that there's enough geometry to deform with a curve. So let's go ahead and add in that curve. Shift A, and actually let's snap our cursor up here. Shift S, cursor to selected. Let's add in a curve path. Looking great. Now I'm going to tab into edit mode on that path. And then, where am I looking here? That's the front. I guess we'll do it on this side. So now I just want to kind of move this, bend this curve up a little bit. So I'm just grabbing that with G and then just kind of creating a nice sort of slap shape there. And yeah, that looks like a good slap shape to me. You'll see how it works in just a moment. Let's go ahead and add a curve modifier to this. And the only curve object we have is this NURBS path here. And let's see if this works. So let's GX. Okay, it is working, which is fantastic. Curves, as I've mentioned in the past, are very frustrating. If yours isn't working kind of like this right off the bat, then you may need to adjust some things in here. The deform axis, also other things to consider would be the placement of your origins of these two objects. Right now they're right on top of each other, but I think we're going to have to change that in a second. The rotation of this object can affect it. The rotation of this object can affect it. But yeah, it looks like it's working. So if you've been following along exactly, then you should be in the same place. But now I need to make it so that it doesn't, when it slaps down, it needs to be elsewhere. So let's tab into edit mode and let's GX. I think we can bring this. Okay, that's not doing it. Let's have this like that. Okay, so it's flat right there. Now maybe if we bring this back. Okay, that looks like it's working. So your origins can end up in sort of weird places when you're doing this, but now it should fold with the curve a little bit more nicely. Yeah, and that's looking good. Okay, so we've got our fold animation happening, and then let's say it finishes slapping on right around there. So what's that? The X location. So insert a keyframe on the X location at frame 60, and then let's have it maybe start the slap action maybe back here at frame 20 or so. Insert single keyframe. Let's see what we got. You just kind of want to have it get to the box once the flaps are flat. Flat flaps. So that looks pretty good. So we pretty much got the whole animation. Looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and, if you haven't already, save your file. What I want to do now is add back in a camera object. So I'm going to press Shift A and add in a camera. Alt G to make sure that's in the center. It's kind of hiding in our box there. And then Alt R to make sure it's pointing down. And then I want to move this out on the Y-axis, something like that. Probably a little bit more. And then RX 90, so it's looking straight ahead. And let's go ahead and set up our viewport to look a little bit better for us. So I'm going to make a camera view down here. So I'm going to press N and T and turn off my overlays and then go 0 to see in my camera view down here. And this will be in rendered mode. And I'll go ahead and switch to cycles and make sure it's on GPU compute. Yeah, using 3.1 for like literally the first time right now, so some of my settings are not completely set up, but figured I should probably record tutorials in the most recent version so they don't become outdated as fast. But yeah, so got the camera looking good. What do we do next? Lighting? Yes. So right now we've got our default boring gray world. So let's make it pretty much just as boring. Turn strength down to 0. More mysterious. Our black, dark world. You can't see anything. So to see things, we will add in some lights. Let's add in an area light. Bring that up a little bit. And I'm noticing in 3.1, I don't have my little draggable option things. I don't know why. But I will increase the size of this right here and maybe give it some more power. And let's add in a couple more lamps. Shift D. I've done a box tutorial before, which some of you may have seen. I wonder how close my lighting setup will be to what we did there. Let's start with that. And then I want to kind of rotate this all, but I want to keep everything kind of locked up on the axes that they are now. So I'm going to press Shift A, add in an empty, and let's make that a cube. And let's bring that down and then adjust empty display size, make it a little bit bigger. Now I want to parent sort of my main objects. So the armature, the curve, the label, and I don't think I need to select the box, to the empty. Control P, keep transform. So now when we rotate this, everything will rotate with it, but our animation and all will still work. So let's kind of find an interesting angle. Oh, and it looks like our label did not get fully applied. I think we need to slide this out maybe a little bit further. Yeah, so the curve wasn't totally flat where it stopped at replace keyframe. Boom. Delicious, beautiful. Looks like the lighting's working pretty well. So yeah, just kind of find an interesting angle. You know, we might add some animation to that, but I think that looks pretty good right there. So yeah, let's do a little bit of materials. We've got a little bit of lighting. So let's make this a shader editor up here, and I'm going to work on the cardboard material first. So the first part of the cardboard I'll do is actually going to be the sort of some like corrugation. So it looks like corrugated cardboard. If you're not familiar with that term, that's like the lines on cardboard. So I'm going to press Control T with this principled shader selected. And if you can't press Control T to add these, then you may need to turn on your Node Wrangler add-on. So just search for that, and it's automatically coming with Blender. You just need to enable it. I'm going to switch this, Shift S, again, a Node Wrangler hotkey, to a wave texture. And yeah, the wave texture is on there. It's not up here because, you know, the default cube automatically has UVs on it, which were these sides here. But when we made our extrusions, those didn't like automatically get new UVs. So I'm going to press Tab to go into edit mode, A to select everything, and I'm just going to do a cube projection, and that will, yeah, just kind of do a very basic UV projection. We will need a UV editor eventually, so let me just show you up here. So yeah, that just kind of projects outwards like a cube. So all our UVs are kind of on top of each other, which can be a bad thing, but it's working pretty fine right now. So yeah, we've got those lines there. Let's just scale this up till they're about the size we want, maybe something like that. And now I'm not going to have this affecting the color. I want it to affect the bump. So I'm going to plug that into the normal and then press Shift A, add a vector bump, drop that right there, plug it into the height, and it is working properly, but we're going to need to turn the strength pretty far down, and also the distance. We're going to turn that way down, really, really low, so that we still get a little bit of a, you know, gradiated wave there. So something like that I think looks pretty good. You can see if we rotate this around, we can kind of see how that bump map is affected with the lighting. Very beautiful, very exciting with the lighting. Exciting, lighting, exciting. Lighting and exciting rhyme, I think. I say that a lot. Cool. Got corrugation. Let's add some paperiness to this. I'm going to do that with another texture, but that texture will be a noise texture. So let's also have that run through the UV, so we can just plug this into this. Bam. Right there. And then have this one go into the color. Looking good. I'm going to scale it up quite a bit just till it's papery. And then just to make it look even more papery, pulpy, let's add some distortion to it. And then let's give it some roughness. Add some detail. Yeah, just trying to kind of get a a little bit of texture on there. Something like that I think looks pretty good. Now I don't want it to be black and white, so I'm going to add in a converter color ramp, drop that right there, and then in this white field, let's pick kind of a boxy color, something like that. Maybe bring the saturation down a little bit, value down a tad. And then instead of having this go to black, I'm gonna have it go to a similar but darker color. So I'm gonna press Control C to copy that and then Control V to paste it over there. And on that one, I'll bring the value way down. So it's almost black, but now instead of going to black, it's going to just like a darker brown. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. You know, you could adjust the roughness here to be shinier, where you could really see that corrugation, or, you know, a little bit rougher. Maybe we go with something like a 0.7. Looks pretty good. My lighting is a little bit flat. Maybe we need to kind of bring this back a little bit. And maybe this one comes like up a little bit. You know, play with things as you go. As you're working with your materials, you know, you might want to adjust the lighting a tad. Maybe this power comes up a little bit. Just trying to get things a little bit more interesting. Maybe this one comes back a little bit. Maybe this one does this. There's no science to this. Just practice. Yeah, that's a little bit more interesting. You can see my material a little bit better. So yeah, we got the corrugation. We've got the paper texture. Now the next thing I want to do is add some actual texture, because it wouldn't be a Dirk box tutorial without some Dirk stuff on the box. So let's add some like stamp-like things. I'm adjusting my bump here just a little bit. Yeah, let's add some Dirk stampy stuff. So right now, the texture is just this corrugation. So let's add in a image texture. And I'm going to do a texture, image texture. Let's open up the classic Dirk sticker, which if you've never seen, looks like that. It's just got my website and my logo. I like slap it on all sorts of stuff. And yeah, let's have... we're going to probably need to change some things here, but let's just have this plug into the UV. And then if we looked at this now, yeah, it's kind of going based off those same UVs that the corrugation and the noise texture are using. But I'm going to need to have something else. But before we do that, let's mix these colors. So the default brown is that. And I want to do a color mix RGB. And I want to mix it with a black color. But where do we mix it? Well, I'm going to have this texture where black is corresponding to a value of 0 and white is corresponding to a value of 1 influence this factor. So on the mix, if the factor is 0, it's the first input. If it's 1, it's the second. So if we just plug this into the factor, we can see that it's actually reversed now. So let's just swap this around and make this black. Of course, if you wanted white print, you could do that. But yeah, I'm just going to do that. And this is still getting the corrugation because we're not affecting the bump at all. You could have it affect that, but I think it looks pretty cool just like that. So with that together, I want to kind of control where my UVs are. But if I move this and scale things around, it's going to also affect the corrugation. So what I need to do on this object is actually add in another UV map. So let's name this one UV logos or something. And now I have a new UV map. So let's have this instead let's go input UV map, drop this right here, and this will be the UV logos and have that go right there. So right now, by default, it will copy the UV we had before, but what I want to do is sort of manually just move these around. So let's, we can leave it like that, but let's just move everything into a white area. So nothing really has it. And then let's select, which face is this? Well, let's go on our face select. So is that, okay, so this face, and I can actually go up here to my texture so I can see it. So let's actually have that Dirk kind of wrap this side here. So let's do U, unwrap, and then spin it around, and then maybe make it like smaller. I don't know. Maybe like that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Got a little Dirk wrap in the edge there. Maybe like make it a little bigger. And then where do our flaps end up? So our flaps, it's going to be that flap right here and that flap. Let's do U unwrap, and then let's have those be Dirk.coms. So like something like that. Looks pretty good. And then we need to make this one over there too. Let's bring that one up. So now we got Dirk.coms. Oh yeah, that's sweet. Let's just do those for now. Of course, you could repeat the process and do it in other areas. And, you know, I encourage you to do your own textures and whatnot, but I think that's going to be enough for demonstration. Am I right? And maybe we actually make this a square for the gram. And then maybe should we move the camera in, or maybe we should add some extra focal length. Oh, but not too much. We gotta be able to see our flaps when we start off. Oh, see, this is perfect. So the label is out of view. The flaps are in view. So then boom, that's just gonna come in. Schwop, get reverse, get slapped on there, whatever that is. Reverse peel, slap, is that what we decided the word was? That looks pretty good. Cool, and while we're at it, let's just give this a little texture. Let's have this be the label texture, which is going to Control T, get an image texture. Let's have that be, I think I think this is a QR. I don't know what that is. I think that's the Dirk.com QR. I'm literally gonna try to scan it on my phone right now and see if that's what it is. I'm currently holding my phone to the screen. Oh, yep, there it is. I should have made it a mystery, but wanted to make sure it wasn't something bad before I literally included it in the tutorial. But yeah, scan that puppy and you'll be right there at the best website in the world. Let's add in a solidify to this too, just to give it a teeny tiny bit of thickness. Just a little bit less. Okay, cool. And maybe this gets like a nice shiny texture. Let's see what that looks like. Do we catch some good lighting with that? Oh yeah, very nice, very nice. Now there's a little bit of an issue where you can see through on both of these. You know what? Let's solve this one by making it transparent. Oh my God, that's BA. I won't say what that stands for. So yeah, I just solved that issue by making this transparent. Should we make it like, I guess we make it shinier, right? Turn down the alpha. Do we need to bring it up a little bit? Trying to make it so it's not so dark. Maybe we add in some value, color, hue saturation, bring the value up. Yeah, that looks good. So yeah, I was doing that. Oh, and we probably need to, you wouldn't really be able to tell, but yeah. We probably need to shade this smooth. And then let's turn on our auto smooth. Normal's auto smooth so that the edges stay sharp. So now we got a nice shiny. Yeah, so turning the value up here just made it so that that clear was a little bit clearer. So now we have a clear label. Dang, that's cool. Now we can still see, you know, a little top of the R's and the K's there. But I did want to fix the double-sided issue over here. So let's add in, all right, so let's name this cardboard. Cardboard logos. Because what I want to do now is add a new material slot, and let's have that also be cardboard logos, but let's hit this button to make a new one, and then let's have that just be cardboard. And for this one, let's just plug it straight in with no texture. So this one now, in our modifiers, we can go down to the solidify materials, and I can change the material offset so that the inside that's being solidified does not have that material. So now we don't have the, you know, it's not on the inside, it's empty in there. Cool, cool, cool. Got some texture, got some lighting, got a sweet QR code on there. Oh yeah, last thing I wanted to show you, very small detail, but let's make these edges corrugated. Now the way we're gonna do that, which first of all, I think I wanna bring my bevel back a little bit so that this isn't so big. Let me bring that back just a little bit. Okay, something like that. I'm gonna show you how to do a real quick and easy corrugation. So let's add in a new material, corrugated edge, basically. It's gonna be the corrugated edge. The way I do that is with a magic texture, Shift S texture, magic texture, and then I want to have that go with the, let's just do the generated input. Maybe we should do, I don't remember which one works. I think generated should be fine. Let's shift control left click on it. Oh, and it's not applied anywhere. That's why we can't see it. I want to also in solidify, let's have the rim be material offset 2. So now the rim has, it's looking for the second down from the original. So like that. That's one cool thing with the solidify is you can control the offset of the, the main part of the solidify, but then also the rim. So right now we've got the magic texture. So let's bring the scale on this up, and I'm gonna copy the color ramp I had over here. So let's do cardboard, Control C on that color ramp, and then let's select corrugated, Control V, pop that bad boy right there. And then maybe for this one, we make it a little bit darker. So let's bring that down, and then let's bring this down a little bit too. And then let's maybe bring them together so there's some more contrast. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. Making a super ghetto corrugation. You could bring the scale up just till it looks kind of right. I guess you could match it exactly. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Looks pretty good. Now for the specular, let's turn that down just so it doesn't get the reflection, so it looks a little bit more like it's a hole or something. And the roughness up. Yeah, look at that. Look at that beautiful corrugation. Right now, if we just barely tab through this, is the texture moving? I don't think it is. I think the texture is staying in place. Okay, so it looks like the generated option works well here. Yeah, I think when you do the object input with the armature, it's gonna like slide the texture so it would be moving. That's like literally everything. Did we add in some high contrast? Did we add in some high contrast? We didn't. Look, high contrast. Look, it's high contrast. Yeah, I just like to add that because I always do it in post anyways, just because it looks better. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this one. Like and subscribe, do all that good stuff. Share with me on Instagram what you come up with. Would love to see it. Some good boxes, some cool QR codes, some cool textures. You could add a little animation to this rotation. That would be something cool. I'm going to play with those things on my own, and of course you'll see it at probably the beginning of the tutorial, and of course on my Instagram. But yeah, share with me what you come up with. Would love to see it. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.